Hey everyone, Brian from IGN here. We're taking a look at Infinite Crisis, and I'm here with the creative director, Cardell Kerr. How's it going?
All right, how about you?
Really good. So we got the big September update coming out for Infinite Crisis. It's been 3 months since you've had one of these big monthly updates, and it sounds like a bunch has changed. So go ahead and jump in and tell me, what are the biggest things people need to know?
So I think it's most important that everyone realize that our goal after going in the bunker for those 3 months was to spend a lot of time just trying to figure out exactly how to make our game better, just in terms of like itself, the gameplay, more like clearer, more responsive, trying to give people more understanding of how the game actually works, and most importantly, try to find a way to really let people explore and understand the characters as part of playing through the game. So what you're going to see, or what we're seeing even right now, is a great example of the very beginning of that. Like when you first come in, especially as a new player, we set the stage. Like Superman explains to you what the multiverse is, and knowing what the multiverse is really important, because if you don't understand it, you don't really understand where'd all these Batman come from.
So it's not just like, hey, it's all these characters are together because fighting.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong, people can certainly find an appeal there.
Sure. Right, of course, yeah.
But yes, you actually, like, there is an actual reason, and the Infinite Crisis is a big deal. It is something that each one of these characters has their own reason for fighting against or fighting for. I mean, you always have to kind of really give these characters some respect, because when you look at characters like Superman and Doomsday, who have deep-seated animosity, you want to know why these people have put that aside. So, yeah.
Interesting. So, you guys are sort of in a different position here. So, the first MOBA I really jumped into was Dota, and the lore in that is kind of ignorable, but you know, DC has this massive, rich history of characters, and sometimes I think people come to this game even if they aren't MOBA fans because it's DC. So you kind of have to make sure you're catering to those people as well.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, it's great because you know we're some of those people. I mean, we all grew up reading comics, and this is like a dream job for us. Like we get to actually make Superman a playable character for us. We get to make our own versions of some of our favorite characters, and this is why we wanted to focus on Gaslight Batman, because he's a character who has been touched on in the comics before, but he has his own very unique viewpoint of the world. And you know, in his version of Gotham, things are kind of normal in the sense of, you know, as normal as a steampunk Gotham can be. But when things start going wrong, he's very much out of his depth. He has no idea, because at heart, Batman is kind of more of the one of us type characters. Right. He doesn't have any superpowers. He puts his pants on one leg at a time.
So, go ahead and tell me what's going on here. Are these new tutorials that you've added, or are they sort of updated with this more story stuff?
Oh yeah, these are all new resculpted tutorials. Like there was some basic work on them that we had in the past, but we actually went through and spent a lot of time just running people through them and just trying our best to fine-tune them across the board. And then we also added these little bits of story elements as we went through. And that's what we're actually seeing right now, is some of the motion comic unlocks that you get to explain like why, like what role you have as the protector, how you interact with these characters, and then most importantly, what is it that each of these characters is actually fighting for.
Okay, so was this sort of a response to player feedback who said like, hey, you know, not only are MOBAs hard to learn and we want to have like really clear tutorials, but we also want to connect with the characters more? Or is this something that you sort of have wanted to do all along and now you finally had time?
I would say it's a little both. I mean, I definitely, whenever we do a beta, like we've been doing online games for a while, so our main goal is always to really integrate really good feedback from the community in a way that it allows us to deliver a very, very high quality experience. And we've always known we wanted to really dive into the characters because, hey, it's Superman or it's Batman or whatever. But additionally, we really wanted to make sure that all the players could actually, you know, kind of come away with playing through the experience and really understanding what made those characters tick.
Okay, so we're going to jump ahead a little bit, and this is a new coaching mode. As someone who plays a lot of MOBAs and actually teaches people MOBAs, I know the tutorials are amazing, but there's nothing quite like having someone who knows the game there holding your hand a little bit. So tell me what's going on with this one.
Yeah, so I think you summed it up really well. One of the things we saw at trade shows was that people really understood what was happening, but that was because we always had a coach there really explaining them what was going on. And we were always questioning ourselves in terms of, well, what will allow people to really understand how to play better just consistently? And that's where we came up on the coaching system. So what we basically did was we looked at the characters we have in the game, and we considered like what are the important gameplay design choices that we have, and how can we really dovetail those two together. So what ended up is we ended up with a world where each one of the basically character roles has almost like a spokesman, a person who can really explain to you how to play that character type. So for us right now, like you can see that we're playing Superman, and Superman himself obviously has a lot of viewpoints on how to play Superman effectively and how to play bruisers in general effectively.
Yeah,
because he's been around
no
the
one
block
knows
a few
Superman
times.
like Superman.
Exactly, and on top of that, no one knows how to be a bruiser like Superman. I mean, he is the defining example of that one. But each of the other archetypes has their own spokesman as well. Like Gaslight Batman, whom you spend some time with in the tutorial, he really knows, what it is to be a marksman, how to be effective with that, and how to serve his team the best. And same thing kind of goes with Wonder Woman, who's an enforcer. We have Harley, or Harlequin, who's going to be our controller archetype there, and then Green Lantern as our blaster.
Okay, so Superman is not teaching you Superman. He's teaching you the role that Superman fills, which is there are several characters who are sort of like
and and pretty much any bruiser style character. Like, all the advice that Superman will give you is going to be very, very effective on how you play a bruiser pretty much across the board. I mean, obviously, each of those characters is very different and has very different skills, but overall, being a bruiser really does, you really need to be able to get in there, start fights, do a lot of damage, and get out, and you need to be able to pick and choose when your team's going to go in, and that's what Superman really helps you do.
Do a lot of damage by throwing vehicles at things.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, Superman specializes in what we'd say property destruction, so it works out well.
Do they give more advice on, like, here's how to lane or how to fight things, or do they give you advice on, say, something as simple as maybe like a HUD element or something like that?
Actually, they give you advice across the board. So I mean, in tutorials, you see a lot more advice on like HUD elements. But even right here, as you can see, I'm like, hey, this is an enemy drone. You really have to focus on that one. He will also tell you about when you want to actually stay away from, when you want to stay from turrets, versus when you actually want to attack a low health opponent. And there's other aspects that they'll also give you advice on. So, for instance, if he were to go, let's say, off into the jungle by itself, there are creatures that are out there that inherently Wonder Woman will actually sponsor you for. So, I mean, even if you're playing Superman, you'll still hear some specific tidbits of advice from other characters based off of where you are in the map. And that's mostly to really give you an understanding of like just how much different things can actually change up. Like right now, as Wonder Woman's giving you some advice on these are creatures, this is what they do, this is why they're, this is this is what they'll give you.
It's not just Superman talking to you the whole time.
Yeah.
Is this something you could do maybe instead of the tutorials, or is it more of like a complement, like an advanced tutorial thing?
Yeah, I would say actually this is something you could, like, if you're really seasoned and you feel pretty confident about it, we're probably going to want to spend a lot more time just working in this particular mode because there's a lot of stuff to learn here.
So is Superman going to say like, here's how you last hit?
Yeah, he would explain that to you.
Okay.
And like, hey, this is why you want to do it. This is what you want. These are credits. This is how you stomp on other people's credits and take those away from your opponents, and you can actually get more and more advantage. Yeah, and he'll even tell you, like, obviously Wonder Woman will tell you more stuff about jungle creatures and using deployable as well. But right now, as an example, so like Green Lantern himself is talking about, hey, these are the other things that you might notice that are very important for just getting advantages and how to actually fight and duel an opponent.
Don't quite tower dive.
Yeah,
that probably wouldn't have worked.
Stay away from that.
Yep.
Never a good sign. They'll also give you some advice just based off of like if you happen to be defeated, they will give you some advice on exactly what you should have done differently, what you should be looking to do in terms of like to counter build. Like, what are the types of things you should be paying attention to?
Okay, so you almost had to kill there. If you would have dove the tower and died, would Superman have said, "Hey, towers are strong. Don't do that early," or something like that?
Oh yeah, and that's exactly what you've said. So like, it's a great example right here.
Oh, here we go.
Like, we're saying as our pro
waiting
plays.
for your champion to be revived, review the kill card. The damage details provide you with the information needed to counter your enemy. You can also use this time to build artifacts in the foundry.
It's hard to go wrong with Kevin Conroy explaining to you how to get better.
How to get That's good. Yeah, a lot of people, when they're new to MOBAs, like death is sort of considered a downtime, but like it really isn't.
It's totally not. Yeah. And that's the other side of it is like if you are not dying in a MOBA, you're doing something wrong. And this is why we also wanted to make sure that there was a lot of good elements of advice to give you. Just like, hey, you're playing this game, we expect you to die. That's the point. And at the same time, that makes you stronger.
Cool.
You come back in.
I like that.
And hard engage poor Green Lantern, who himself is trying his best to stop Superman.
That was a really long-range initiate. That was really cool.
That is one of the things that Superman does well. And right now,
yes,
it looks like that's it.
That was worth it.
It was excellent.
Right.
Excellent plays.
We're going to end the coaching mode with that, and we'll be right back to show off a few more things from this update.